Yeah.
Sherry, can I ask you a question on that one? I mean, often a question I'll ask is this. Is it that your husband can't believe the Christian faith because there are intellectual issues that he just doesn't believe? For example, Christ did not rise from the dead, or this world was not made by a creator God, or because of suffering he doesn't believe? Or is it that he won't believe? In other words, he is saying, listen, I am going to run and control my life my own way. The Christian faith may or may not be true, but no one takes control. I mean, is he can't believe?
Yeah, I absolutely understand what you're saying. He's actually done an alpha course some years ago. It's he won't believe. It's not he can't believe. I don't think there's any intellectual...
Right, so he is saying, I am going to run my life my own way. God does give me each breath.
Yeah.
If I think about it, I'd probably acknowledge that, but no one tells me what to do.
Yeah, I would say it's that one, definitely.
Well, Sherry, I think once one knows that, then we are at a place where we are just praying that he will be brought into reality by God and see that every breath he gets is a gift from God.
Yeah.
So you see, there's the parable of the tenants in Mark chapter 12, where God builds a vineyard, he sets a wall around it, he puts in a wine press, and he goes away, the owner, and the tenants come in, but the tenants insist they're owners, when actually they're tenants.
Yeah.
And we need to pray that your husband will see he's a tenant here because God is gracious and kind and not an owner.
I think too, Cherry, it's one of these situations where it's very difficult to know exactly how and what you can do. On one level, it's living your Christian life. And even if you never say anything, it's living your life according to the way the Lord has called you to live it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And as we said earlier on, and I'm sure you're aware, you cannot save anybody. If we could, we'd be out there doing it. But it is either by life or, if possible, by word, but certainly by deed, showing your husband what the Christian life is.
Yeah.
And yes, if there are opportunities to meet other families, if I don't know if you could have social events where you could invite others along just to meet him. There are all sorts of possibilities, but only you know if they're if they're really going to work for you. And just look for the Lord to touch him and share with him, and continue to pray, as you say, for him. And you're at rest, but maybe it's because you're uptight that, begin to pray for others. Lord, how can I help other women in a similar situation? Maybe God's calling you to do something more, and pray, and you're at rest. Maybe you can help others to come to rest.
I certainly have plenty of advice to give that history. But I am at rest. It's just it's something I wanted to highlight.
Sherry, can I just ask another question? I mean, because for your husband, it's not that he can't believe, it's that he won't, so he's denying the truth. Does he realize that he will burn eternally for that? So God takes sin so seriously that actually to reject the rescue of Jesus is right at the heart of sin. So John 16 verse 9, because they don't believe in me, sin is the heart of sin is men not believing in Jesus. So it's not an intellectual decision not to believe in Jesus, it's a sin. God has sent his son to die, we ignore it. Now, does he understand that God takes sin so seriously that he'll say, look, I'm afraid there is going to be a sphere of punishment where the worm does not die, Mark chapter 9, and the fire is not quenched, so there will be torment. This is how serious it is, rejecting Jesus. Do you think he's engaged with that, or does he just think, well,
no,
God will accept me because I'm good? Or I
don't think he really has engaged with that, and I do agree with you with what you said before, that the gospel's not really preached like that these days. It's more like a self-help thing, come to Jesus and all will be well.
Well, if you download on the All Souls Church Langham Place website, Mark chapter 9, I've preached a sermon on that subject, and I just think that there does sometimes come a point when you say, look, you know I love you. This is the warning of the Bible.
Yeah.
And loving people warn. Now, we're in a culture where we think to be loving is not to warn, but a loving father and mother warns them and says, look, this is, darling, this is very, very serious. Now, you may not believe this, but I believe this. I believe that if you don't allow Christ to pay for your sin, you will pay yourself in a sphere of punishment. So Jesus, the most loving man that ever lived, said, it is total darkness. It is a place of torment. It is a place of great anger. And go through Matthew's Gospel, and he just talks about torment again and again and again. And the reason he does is he knows he's the one that has to, A, judge people and send them there, and secondly, save them from it.
Yeah.
And I think that men often only become Christians when they realize they're beaten.
Yeah.
You know, they realize so you've got to
Yeah.
pick your enemies wisely, and you don't want to take on God. Now,
Yeah.
I do speak very clearly of hell. What I try and do when I do that is have an attitude which is, I am for you. I'm not against you. I'm with you. But because I'm with you, I'm giving you the information with which to make a wise decision. And I wonder if your husband needs the information that there is a place called hell. Week 3 of Christianity Explored does that.
The problem is, so I don't want to take all your time on your program.
No, Sherry, it's really important. Your
I'm really
husband's
sorry.
important to us.
But, the problem is, it's very hard to explain in such a short time, but he's been extremely anti. I mean, to the point where I had to stop going to church for about 4 years.
Sherry.
He's thrown out my Bible before. So it's really difficult. It would be very difficult for me to be able to present any Bible to him. But I really am not particularly worried about myself as such, because I really do feel I've come to the place where I've done everything. I've done everything I could possibly do humanly.
Leave it in God's hands.
And I've just left it with God now, because I think that's a good place to be at.
Amen.
For me personally. But,
but with that, but obviously to continue praying for him.
oh, yes. I
And
do.
obviously continuing to look for those opportunities.
Yeah.
And it is difficult for us to say, this is what you've got to do, this is how you do it. But as Rico is saying, you know, if there is an opportunity, if conversation can come up, you alone know at that time, now is the time to do it. And to be aware and looking for that opportunity.
Well, sorry.
Well, and Sherry, I just think 2 little things to jot down in terms of comments to make to him. The first is that God doesn't send people to hell. We choose to go there.
Yeah.
So your husband does not want Jesus Christ in his life, and God will just confirm that decision. So to say, darling, you know, God isn't sending you to hell. You're choosing to go there. You don't want him in your life. So that's the first thing. The second is that, really, be honest with me, is it that you can't believe this or you won't? Because if he says it's I can't, if he says it's suffering, it's well, whatever reason, Christians are hypocrites, we can work that through. But if it's that he won't, then say again, God will just confirm the decision you've made. You've decided that you don't want it, and there's only one way to get to hell. This is what I always say. You have to trample over the cross of Jesus. He blocks the way. He says, don't go there, I'm stopping you going there.
Yeah.
But if you want to go there, then he says, then you have to trample over the cross.
Yeah.
He says, Jesus says, I've paid in death and blood to stop you going. So I just wonder if, for prayer over the next year, you might pray that those 2 little questions, is it I can't or I won't?
Yeah.
That's the first one. And the second one is, darling, you know, God doesn't send people to hell, we choose to go there.
Yeah.
I think those 2 areas will hopefully clarify his thinking.
I think, as you said before, that would probably have to come from somebody else, because I can't have a rational discussion with him. He just won't go there at all, and it would be not helpful for me to decide.
Seek God to bring somebody else into his life.
I will.
And Cherry, if we can help you further, if we can support you further, do come back